So it's July 31st, 2024. It's almost 1:30 in the morning. So I have been informed by a public servant named Michael Moss that it has made the unconscionable choice, willingly and knowingly, to refuse to investigate. The persons doing business as the Crime Victims Assistance Program here in British Columbia. A cabal that's overseen by a beast named Mike Farnworth. Now, this is not the first time this has happened to me. This happens to me every single time I attempt to employ the beast employees. So I received an email and a letter. And this thing has explained that it's not going to be investigating. Well, Michael Moss, you're not going to be doing the investigation because I did your job for you. So all you were going to do was to make sure that the compensation due was paid out before the end of the week, and now you've chosen, willingly and knowingly, to violate my rights. First and foremost, public servants. The living law that sits on the witness box of every whorehouse across Canada is the supreme, superior law of both the living and the dead. So as we can see here, I'm a teacher of the living law. That's what I do. That's what I'm trained to do. So this is a document that I wrote and sent over to a witch, pretending to be a public servant here of the BC corrupt courts. So I try to educate this witch in the laws of my people, the living. And as we can see here, ignorance of common law is no excuse. And then there are a number of... Well, if you've ever gone through this bullshit that these witches write, these acts and these statutes and these bylaws, they've got, let's see, for like the Criminal Code of Canada. Same idea, right? Well, my father did this before any of these witches started working their witchcraft. And so that's why it's Leviticus a number of different times, and Numbers. Now, Numbers 5:6 and Numbers 5:7 are the crime of blasphemy. Yeah. Now, my brother taught everyone that blasphemy, you can't be forgiven for blasphemy because you can't. It is the responsibility of all, both living and dead, to know, understand, and to follow the living law. And if not, then they will never be forgiven, because what they're doing is intentionally causing harm. It's intentional, it's willful. And my father doesn't give a flying fuck if they don't understand, right? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You'll also find that in the Criminal Code of the Cursed Cuckoo Canada. That's one of their reprobate rat code rules. Those who hate the truth, known as transgressors or trespassers, who loathe and refuse common law, whether intentionally or unintentionally, break any of the Almighty's requirements, are guilty. Leviticus and Numbers. It's blasphemy. You're done. So no one has the right to add to the living law, and no one has the right to take away from the living law. And the law applies to everyone, both righteous and wicked, both living and dead. So in my culture, you don't ever appoint as an adjudicator or grant anything jurisdiction who is ignorant of common law. So all adjudicators must be experts in common law. When you judge, treat everyone the same. Listen to those who are important and those who are not. Don't be afraid of anyone. The Almighty is the highest judge. Bring him any case that's too hard. He'll listen to it. Well, I brought my cases before him. And the living law dictates the death of all those who have kidnapped my son and sold him at 8 years old. And now the same cabal has come and robbed my in-trust property and then embezzled the entire estate. It happens all the time in Canada. No one's doing anything about it because Canadians are cursed cowards. So judges are not to pervert justice by rendering their own opinion. A judge must evaluate according to the common law. So you don't have judges here in Canada. You have arrogant, immoral abominations, antichrist abominations, doing business as the bench of bullshit, Babylonian bullshit. So a judge is not to favor anybody in that room, and they're not to commit unrighteousness, but that's exactly the foundation here of the bench of bullshit. So you don't judge anything until it's been fully investigated. So how many times have I been into that whorehouse with a claim, and I've asked the beast on the bench if they've even read what they're adjudicating? Multiple times I've been told no. No, either we don't have fucking time or that, or we don't give a fuck what you're in here doing, or what you have to say, or what you're after. We don't care. If there's a BARF member beside you, you're dead. This is the house of the dead. We don't hear the living here in the house of the dead, in the demon dog, dead whore. We don't hear the living here. This is the house of the dead. So an adjudicator must not pervert justice due to the foreigner. Well, you have any idea how important that is, that law? Well, you see, this is exactly why my brother was murdered by a kangaroo court. We're not from here. We're foreigners. Visitors. Non-residents. So adjudicators must not deny justice to the poor. Well, yeah, so I filed a civil claim beginning of January to stop what they were doing and to gain access to my son, and for them to pay us for what they did to us because they ran fraud on the court. And yeah, I was told to go fuck myself. Basically, yeah, I've got actually the second satanic ritual uploaded to YouTube. It's in 2 parts. Because I taped the second satanic ritual to deny me my right to access justice and to fair and just compensation. So they can't show partiality to the rich either, right? So we talked about the rule of law yesterday. Yeah, that's where they get their satanic Babylonian bullshit from. They've actually taken the living law, they've taken it out, they've twisted it and turned it, barfed all over it, and turned it into acts and statutes and fucking codes and, all kinds of satanic crap. So the adjudicator can't accept false testimony in a case. Well, that's all they accept here in Canada's kangaroo courts of lies and liars. They don't hear the truth there. They're allergic to it. It makes them they start to shapeshift, don't they? They start to shapeshift into the demons that they actually are right on the bench of bullshit. I've seen them do it because I don't go in there with a liar. I'm not one of the dead. So an adjudicator is not to condemn an innocent or righteous people. Now see, I wrote this a long time ago. I'm not the same woman I was then, and I'm certainly not the same woman I was yesterday. Like, the living grow every day. It's part of the reason why we're in pain every day. Growing pains. Person, no, that's a thing. So what that should say is, the adjudicator must not condemn an innocent or righteous man or woman. Because men and women are living, they're not things, they're not persons. So you can't convict based on circumstantial evidence alone. Well, that's why Jesus was murdered, right? They didn't have any evidence. They didn't have any proof of what the claim was. So they can't accept bribes. Well, that's all they do here. So you don't judge a matter on the testimony of one witness. that makes sense. You got to have 2 or 3 witnesses. So when my people are going through the Bible, we're looking for 2 or 3 witnesses of truth to establish the truth. There's many, many, many scriptures in that book that there's not 2 or 3 witnesses of truth. So if you lend to the living, you're not a bank, you're not a money lender, because that means you're worshiping Mammon, and that means you're already dead. So at the end of every 7 years, you must cancel the debts of everyone who owes you money. Now, do you understand how my Father works? He's all about doing no harm. You can't worship Mammon and be within the living at the same time. So that's why every 7 years, everything got set back to 0. So there was harmony in the land. So there was peace in the land. So everybody was equal. You didn't have fucking ultra wealthy and then dirt poor, where I come from. We just don't operate that way. So you don't give false testimony. Well, that makes sense, but I tell you what, the politicians, the fucking police, the fucking MLAs, the MPs, all the public servants, compulsive liars. So if you're going to go in there, you have to speak the truth. Well, I went in there every single time with a valid claim, and I had proof. And I was told, like, fuck off, get out of here, and you're paying. Not only have you paid to come in here, but now you're going to pay the puke who just lied to steal your right to access justice and fair and just compensation for what's happened to you, including a multitude of sexual assaults. Whoever's aware of evidence in a case must speak up and testify, so that's why I went in there. And I kept going in there because I knew what was happening. We're aware of her. We're aware of her, is what I heard from this fucking puke. Here, I recorded the call. I just uploaded it again recently. Yeah, Gurjaks. Yeah, they're aware of you. Are they? Well, why would that be? Because of their hatred and racism for the living, peculiar people? So don't fail to report evil by wrongdoers by not following common law or testifying in an investigation against those who refuse the common law. Again, why I go to the pigs, the demons acting as policy enforcement police. Corrupt, right from the fucking head hog right to the fucking lowest level savage. You don't mistreat foreigners. Well, that would be my people. We're not from here. We're foreigners here, and yet look how we're treated. I mean, this is exactly why our lives are written down as a living testimony to how we're treated when we're here. You don't take advantage of widows and orphans. Well, yeah, hey, that's my fucking life now. It has been since my spouse passed in 2017. You don't spread false reports. An adjudicator is not to receive a wicked person's testimony. A judge will not hear one litigant in the absence of another. They do that here all the time. They're just completely immoral, fucking lawless, fucking losers, without hope and without future. You don't mislead anyone by giving unlawful advice against the common law. You don't follow the crowd in doing evil by not following. Well, it's the living law. It's common to all. It's living. Liars, well, who are they? They're the murderers, the false witnesses. Have to be judged according to the living law. And then these fucking monkeys have got their own sets of rules, right? Canada's a party to all these UN conventions, United Nations conventions. Here's one against discrimination against women, Article 13. So these cabals have to treat me equally, economically and in social life. So I have the right to bank loans and mortgages. So if this fucking claim has been made that $40,000 is a mortgage, well, I would be the first in line to receive a mortgage. But no, you see, because then they're not going to be able to launder money, and they're not going to be able to create 2 fraudulent mortgages for close to, $750,000. Both of them. Plus all that interest. So equality before the law. See, this is talking about law. Well, there is no law down here. It's all fucking legal bullshit. So the cabals in civil matters, they're going to give women equal rights to conclude contracts and administer property and treat them equally in all stages of procedure in courts and tribunals. Okay, so then why did this demon acting as the bench at the end of January 2020 say to me that we're now going to pay all this money, this $750 million into the court now, which it wasn't paid into the court. Dirty dog, Daniel Carroll, kept it and then helped itself to whatever it wanted so it could pay out all these fucking savages who got rich stealing my house. And you know they're all the same, right? That this thing calling itself the finance minister and this thing calling itself the fucking premier and this thing calling itself the BC attorney general. They're all on the same team. They're all of one mind, right? The mindless maggot mind. The Masonic fucking mind. Legal. They're talking about legal bullshit now. In part 3 here. So state parties shall accord to women the same right with regard to the law relating the movement and the freedom to choose their domicile. Well, no, I don't have a choice. I wasn't given a choice March 2020 when they removed me violently from my home. So the two Asians could use that house and never live in it because they were using it to commit indictable crime. Drive up with housing prices because these savages acting as a dictative sandwich could fucking care less that the housing prices are being fucking jacked in this fucking district because that's a private for profit and it's they got shareholders. So the more money these witches generate, the more monies these witches shareholders get every year when they cut a check. That's why none of these fucking pigs, pukes, and dogs give a fuck about the money laundering going on. These witches acting as the BC NDP and these witches acting as the fucking BC United and the BC Greens and whatever these witch cabals are calling themselves. Like, they don't follow any of this. Oh, multiculturalism, right? Oh, there's an act, right? Well, an act's it's not a law. Oh, so apparently an individual, well, that's a sociopath. I just read that out. I just did some research today. And one of the synonyms for sociopath, it's an individual. So every individual is equal before and under the law. Oh, okay. Right to equal protection and benefit of the law without discrimination. So that means then when I go and lay private information criminal charges to begin the private prosecution of all of these horrors who have destroyed my life, then this cabal can't deny these indictable crime claims, because then they're not following the Constitution of Canada and this fucking act for multiculturalism. Peaceful assembly, well, spawn of Satan, no peace, are never going to be a peaceful assembly. So this is just, it's all propaganda. It's literally fucking poisonous puke, written by poisonous pukes. This is all the illusion. This is all illusion. That's what witchcraft is, and it's illusion. Disillusionment. Right, that Canada's such a wonderful place. It isn't. It's a fucking cesspool of Satanism. Satanic savages running around everywhere, fucking eating off the righteous and those who did the right thing, like my spouse and I, which is why we have a home in Saanich. Well, we had one, but, you know, witches are going to do what witches are going to do. Oh, really? Peaceful Assembly Associate and guarantees those rights and freedoms equally to all people. Oh, now we're talking about people. Oh, so equal rights. Oh, really? Oh, it's a guarantee, is it? It's a guarantee? Really? Yeah, look at this fucking shit. Constitution of Canada. Recognize the importance of preserving, enhancing the Multicultural Heritage. Citizenship Act. Right. Bullshit. Oh, here we've got a Human Rights Act. Yeah. Oh, I have the right. The equal opportunity to make the life that I'm able and wish to have. Well, okay. Oh, and see, now here we're talking about this thing, doing business as Corporation Canada. It's party to the International Convention to eliminate racial discrimination. Equal before the law, entitled to equal protection of the law against any discrimination and incitement to discrimination. Well, that's been my entire life for 51 years. There's so much to go through and so much to provide testimony to. It's extremely painful to go over it because I have to relive it all. Oh, here we go. Oh, a covenant. It's a covenant on civil and political rights. Provides that people belonging to an ethnic, linguistic minority are not going to be denied the right to enjoy their culture and use their language. Well, that's why my son isn't with me, and that's why my home is gone, and all the money was fucking embezzled. They're doing it all the time here. I've been trying to explain that now for quite a few days, coming on here every fucking day. I mean, look at all this garbage. I mean, it's just, they don't, right to security. I have the right to security and protection against violence and bodily harm. Well, I experience violence and bodily harm every day. And all of that violence and bodily harm is always inflicted by pigs, persons in government, and by individual groups and by institutions. Every single fucking day, I am not secure. Every single fucking day, there is no protection against the violence and the bodily harm that's inflicted against me every single minute of every single day. And all that fucking violence and harm is caused by the pigs, individual groups, and institutions. All right, I have the right to take part in the satanic cult and the conduct of public affairs at any level and have equal access to public service. So then why have I now been denied the $500,000 that I'm owed from one of multiple sexual assaults? And so now where does that put me? That puts me right back to fucking right. It's a game of fucking snakes and ladders, as I've mentioned before, right? And it's all snakes and no ladders. Because that thing, that Michael Moss, is a fucking snake. It's a fucking snake, and it needs to go live in a cage because it's not doing anything for its paycheck and its pension anyway. Right to freedom of a peaceful assembly and a peaceful association wouldn't then denied my right to that compensation, which is the compensation due to all victims of sexual assault in Canada. So now this is crimes of the witches acting as the CIBC solicitors. But these are going to be the indictable crimes that are about to be filed, sworn, in front of the person acting as a JP, a Justice of the Peace, down here against this Michael Moss. This is just some of them. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming for that fucking mindless monster, the male monster, Michael Moss. Well, so the letter I got and the email I got, that it's not going to do the investigation, which has already been done for itself, and all it had to do was make sure that that money was paid out before the end of the week, and now it's refused. So we've got the crime here. This is the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 372. False information. Everyone commits an offence who, with intent to injure or alarm a woman, conveys information that they know is false, or causes such information to be conveyed by letter or by any means of telecommunication. Well, fraud, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's fraud. So it actually has no right to not do that investigation, but which it's already been done for it. I did it for it, that thing, because that thing isn't, intelligent enough to serve my people. So what we've got here is, a prison sentence of 2 years. But because we've got an option of summary conviction, which means that because there's proof beyond all reasonable doubt, there is no trial. It moves right to sentencing. So it'll be called in and receive the sentence written against it, and it's going to be going to prison, and it's going to be fined, and I'm the woman who gains the fine, right? Whatever it's fined, I'm the one who receives the fine. See, the cabal have written into the witchcraft rules that the witches pretending to be the barf members in the court are the ones who make all this money when a victim is harmed. Drawing document without authority. Well, that letter that it sent, you don't have any right to fucking send me a letter stating that you're about to steal $500,000 from me. The rule of law has been laid before you there, mindless monster. Fraud. Well, that's what we've got here. We've got section 380. Everyone who by deceit, falsehood, or other fraudulent means, whether or not it's a false pretense within the meaning of this act, fucking bullshit, eh? Defrauds the public or any person, whether ascertained or not, of any property, money, or valuable security, or any service. Well, that's what this thing is guilty of committing. So again, there's opportunity for summary conviction. And because it's $500,000, well, no, see, we can't use the summary conviction on this because, it's exceeding $5,000. Well, let's like it's going to prison. It's going to go live in a cage. That's where you put the mad monkeys. You put them in cages here. Affecting the public market. Yeah. What else do we have here? Well, I identify as an internationally protected woman. So we could be laying a charge under section 424 here against this malicious monster Michael Moss. Everyone who threatens to commit an offense under section 235, 236, 266 through 269, 269.1, 171 through 173, 279, 279.1. Oh, see, you got some cage time here. 5-year cage time. Attempts an accessory. Well, that's what it's done, right? It's become an accessory to refusal of access to justice. It's become an accessory because you've got now this thing calling itself the BC Attorney General. You get this thing calling itself the Premier. You've got this thing acting as the Deputy Premier and Public Safety Solicitor General. They're all guilty. They're all accessories. Well, this is their mindless maggot rules. Counseling offense that's not committed. Oh, isn't that interesting? You fucking racist garbage, eh? The circular spinners. Satanic circular spinners. That fucking mind, that fucking beast mind just spins on stupid. Criminal organization. Well, the BC Ombudsperson. I can prove to you all day long that that's a criminal organization. Commission of offense. Let's see here. Well, so now what we've got Michael Moss doing. So this is under section 467.1. Well, that's exactly what's going on here. It's the commission of an offense. It's a trespass. against my right to access justice. Participation in activities of criminal organization will not only use the province of British Columbia, a criminal organization, but all of its public services are also all criminal organizations. So it'll be charged under that section under as well, 467.11. Well, it's a commission of an offense for criminal organization, so it'll be charged under section 467.12. And there's proof beyond reasonable doubt, so there will be no defense. Every person who commits an indictable offense under this or any other act of Parliament for the benefit of, at the direction of, or in association with a criminal organization is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 14 years. See, in living law, you don't have this this fucking window of like bullshit where some psychopath decides how long this criminal spends in a cage. That would be the decision of the victim, not the fucking coven. Prosecution. In a prosecution for an offense under Section 1, it is not necessary for the prosecutor to prove that the accused knew the identity of any of the persons who constitute the criminal organization. Instructing commission of offense for criminal organization. Well, that's one of the offenses that it is committed. Every person who is one of the persons who constitute a criminal organization and who knowingly instructs directly or indirectly any person to commit an offense under this or any other act of Parliament for the benefit of, at the direction of, or in association with the criminal organization is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for life. Well, there, Maggot Moss, it looks like you're going to be spending the rest of your life in a cage. Because truly what you've done is committed the crime of, it's attempted murder. Like it's a conspiracy to commit murder. I'm being treated just like the rest of my people when they were here. I mean, we all get treated the same when we're here, and we're not going to be treated any differently while we're here. We are hated by the world. This is why you will never find any of us having tens of thousands of followers on any of the platforms that we create. You will never find us having tens of thousands of views on any of the uploads that we create, because the world does not, it doesn't want to hear the truth. It hates the truth, and it hates the truth tellers. This is why we don't fit in anywhere. This is why we don't have any family members. This is why we have little to no friends. The relationship with my son has been completely and utterly destroyed. I mean, it would be an absolute miracle if there could ever be a reconciliation between him and I. And what am I going to say to him? I honestly don't actually believe that he's still with us. He's either been murdered or been destroyed or self-destructed because he was forced to live a life of lies with the lifeless who bought him at 8 years old. And that was the intent from the second that they kidnapped him, was to destroy us both. In a prosecution for an offense under subsection 1, it's not necessary the prosecutor to prove that an offense other than the offense under subsection 1 was actually committed, the accused instructed a particular person to commit an offense, or the accused knew the identity of all the persons who constitute the criminal organization. Holy fuck, who writes this? This is just... sentences to be conserved consecutively. So this is living law. Don't secretly hate your neighbor. If you have something against them, get it out into the open. Otherwise, you are an accomplice to their guilt. So this is why the peculiar people have to speak up and speak to the wicked. Because if we don't, we become complicit to their wickedness. And then we will never enter the kingdom of life, the land flowing with milk and honey. We will never enter that land. We wouldn't be worthy to enter that land. Whoever's aware of proof in a case, you have to speak up and testify. Jeremiah, your own wickedness. will correct you, and your unfaithfulness and your unfaithful ways will punish you. You should know and see how evil and bitter it is for you if you abandon the Most High and do not hear me, declares the Almighty. Proverbs, my child, if trespassers entice you, don't consent. Proverbs, if they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood, let us wantonly ambush the innocent. Like hell, let us swallow them alive and whole, like those who go down to the pit. Repeatedly, those who wrote the Old Testament talk about hell. Every single one of them talks about hell. But they talk about it like in parables. Proverbs, we will take all kinds of valuable things and fill our houses with stolen goods. Well, hey, haven't I told you? What's valuable to me is my son, my home, my family home, the land, with all those memories and all that energy and all the personal title inside. It's all been stolen, so witches can get rich and I can end up with less than nothing. Join us. We will all share equally in what we steal. Well, that's what they did. They all got a piece of the pie, the profane puke pie. Don't follow anyone like that or do what they do. They rush to commit evil. They hurry to commit murder. They're like a bird that sees the bait but ignores the trap. But these savages set an ambush for themselves. They are trying to get themselves killed. Such are the ways of those who are greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessor. Oh, you've got International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Again, right, it sounds like the same garbage we read in the Multiculturalism Act. People belonging to an ethnic, linguistic minority are not going to be denied the right to enjoy their own culture or to use their own language. So we've got Mike Moss, Mike Farnworth, Nikki Sharma, Katrine Conroy, David Eby, all parties to the offense of not paying out this claim. So this is Section 21 of the Criminal Code of Canada. Everyone is a party to an offense who actually commits it, does or omits to do anything for the purpose of aiding any person to commit it, or abets any person in committing it. So they all have a common intention. The evildoers I just named, they all have a common intention. Where two or more persons form an intention in common to carry out an unlawful purpose and to assist each other therein, and any one of them in carrying out the common purpose commits an offense, each of them who knew or ought to have known that the commission of the offense would have probable consequences of carrying out the common purpose is a party to that offense. So they're all being indicted. This is a common law process, because they've all determined themselves to be artificial persons, so they will have no standing, no voice in my courtroom. The victim of the crime is the one who creates the courtroom. This is not a legal proceeding. Person counseling offense, well, I just said that. This is Section 22, where a person counsels another person to be a party to an offense, and that other person is afterwards a party to that offense. The person who counseled is a party to that offense, notwithstanding that the offense was committed in a way different that which was counseled. So this adjudicator, Sandra, from the Victims Assistance Criminal Program there, that thing is being indicted too, and I'll just call it a Jane Doe, right? Because I know it's not going to want to give me its name. It's going to try to run and hide like a cockroach. Definition of counsel. For the purpose of this act, counsel includes procure, solicit, or entice. So now what they've done is this is called criminal negligence. Section 219. Everyone is criminally negligent who, in doing anything or in omitting to do anything that is his duty to do, shows wanton or reckless disregard for the life and the safety of who they were supposed to be serving. Well, I explained that in the phone call to the one covered in the deep darkness there, the Michael Moss. Well, I'm sorry, but this is what, if you're not going to do your job, then you're going to have to go live your life in a cage, because you're a danger to yourself and you're a danger to society, and you coven cabal members are not above the law. Definition of duty. For the purpose of this section, duty means a duty imposed by law. Well, you're public servants. So it's imposed upon you by the living law and all the legal rules that you have to follow the rule of law for sexual assault victims in Canada, and each and every one deserves $500,000, because rapists are not even prosecuted here in Canada. No, they're not. Women aren't safe here in Canada. Harassment, criminal harassment. Well, I mean, I could go through that. Uttering threats, assault. Torture, theft. Secrecy. Punishment for theft, fraudulent concealment. Section 341. Everyone who, for a fraudulent purpose, takes, obtains, removes, or conceals anything is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for not exceeding 2 years. So this is the trust. So my spouse's last will and testament, it's 4 pages. That's how simple righteous people live our lives. We're not complicated people. It's crystal clear what that trust says, what that trust means. False pretense. Willfully causing event to occur. Well, that is going to be leveled against those who I've named. Everyone who causes the occurrence of an event by doing an act or by admitting to do an act that is its duty to do, knowing that the act or omission will probably cause the occurrence of the event, and being reckless whether the event occurs or not, shall be deemed for the purpose of this part willfully to have caused the occurrence of the event. Well, they're causing literally the destruction of my health, and then they know that they're doing that because I told them this was an emergency, and it didn't care. Mischief, okay. So the second wound is the painful aftermath of sexual abuse and assault, all the time actually. This is Canada. The persons doing business as the police, the public servants, and basically society. They deny the truth. They just ignore the victim's pain. We get pressured just to move on and forget about it. They scapegoat, they victim blame, they ostracize, and they treat us. Well, don't you dare go and ask for what's rightfully yours if you've been harmed like that in Canada. Right? I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Because who I'm dealing with here is, I'm dealing with the vile. The wicked are useless. No clue how to do good. Refuse to seek justice. Refuse to rebuke the oppressor. Refuse to plead for the widow. Just absolutely refuse. The vile. Now you see, the righteous care about justice for the poor, which is why I'm speaking up and saying something, because I'm one of the poor, and I've been denied my right to access justice. But all of those that I spoke about, all of those who I named, they have identified themselves as the wicked. And as the wicked, they're going to be indicted, and it's going to be a summary judgment, right? Because they have no defense for what they've done. You have no defense. And it's not a legal proceeding. I mean, you're subject to all those fucking codes and acts and statutes. You are. You're artificial. You're not fucking living. And remember what we just learned, right? What did we learn? Did we learn anything? Because I ain't stopping, and I don't care how bad this gets for me. I have the right to access justice, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So if any of those fucking witches think that they're above the law, they're certainly not.